What is going on, guys? I believe it says we're live. We are live. I'm here with you. So understand one thing very quickly. I want to point this out. There's going to be a little bit of a latency between what you guys are hearing, or what I'm saying, and what's going on. So if you hit the chat, I'm going to answer all your questions as I can. I am going to kind of recap the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial as I can, from my best memory. I'm gonna lean on my co-hosts, that being you, to jump in, ask questions. I'm open to talk about personal experiences of my own, of your guys's, but I'm going to start from the basis of the trial because I think it's important for many, many reasons. This trial, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, has captured the attention of, I think, more than just Americans, all of Americans, but the world. We have in front of us real life toxicity, real life relationships, and we have a lot of ourselves being put on display. At least I can speak to that. It's not always comfortable when we talk about when relationships go poorly. We like to remember the fond times, and I think that's good. We should do that. But let's start from the beginning of what we know. Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, not together a very long time before they get engaged. Okay. That's a problem. It's not... it's a red flag. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but they're not together a long time. They're both coming out of marriages. Well, they're both currently in relationships when they meet on the set of the Rum Diaries. Johnny Depp lays out a very romantic expression of their first interaction, before they even started making Rum Diaries for her to get the audition. And just says there was this connection, there was this power, there was this energy, and he says it very fondly. Her version of it is that she showed up, she did well, and they accepted, they said they had to have her. So we're seeing the duality of these two. Now, they are both actors, professionally. So they both know how to tell a narrative that they want to come across, and they can both do it emotionally. What you can't do is make a viewer watch you and believe you if you're not believable, right? So you can put as much sauce on the meal that you want. If it tastes like shit, it's a bad meal, right? So Amber Heard, when she goes up and she's telling these lavish, right? That's the word we'll use because I'm trying to be relatively kind. She uses these words like, I wanted to penetrate the monster to get to the man. I took severe objection to that because as someone who claims you were a victim of sexual violence and sexual assault, I find your casual use of the term penetrate irritating because you're just lollygolly throwing it around like it doesn't matter, okay? Then they apparently share a kiss in a trailer while they're both in a relationship. Johnny says it was wrong, but it felt right. He's taking acceptance for the fact that, sure, he shouldn't have done it. He may have been legally married, but he was separated, whatever his excuse was. And this is where we'll kind of go back and forth between the trial and personal experiences. I know a lot of people that have gone out to bars when they're married and they're not, separated. And they tell somebody, oh, I'm separated right now. We don't live together. Because they know they're like crashing at their boy's place that night or something. And they can get away with it for a minute. So, we can't act like that's not something that happens. But in this situation, Johnny Depp is always on the move because he's always working. He has 2 kids. He did have a wife who he did get divorced from. Amber Heard tried to play Johnny's secrecy in the fact that they needed to constantly stay quiet or keep it behind closed doors, as if that was a bad thing, as if he was hiding Amber Heard. But I think really what he was trying to do was keep their relationship private and not have exactly what we now see happen, which is this his whole life is a public spectacle now, which is not what he wanted because he knows he's kind of a mess in his own right? I would call Johnny Depp a beautiful mess, if we can use that term, right? Is that okay? For somebody like Johnny Depp is a beautiful mess where you don't take, right, something like the Mad Hatter and that whole character and characters like Sweeney Todd, and where there are these beautifully romantic, angry, artistic, human, but almost in a way supernatural. But if you look at all the characters he plays, they're almost supernatural when they're not. Like Edward Scissorhands has scissors for hands, and the Mad Hatter has different stuff. But in the ways that they're truly magical is it's the strength that they carry with them. Every one of his characters is dark and broken. In Sleepy Hollow, he's the constable, and he passes out anytime he sees, I think it's blood or dead people. I think it's blood. Anytime he sees blood, he passes out, and he's a constable. So it's a big part of his day. So every character he has is very damaged. In Dark Shadows, he's this vampire that comes from damn near royalty back in the time. Somebody locks him in a box. He gets dug up in modern day time, and he's coming back to the place where he used to rule, and they're really nothing. They're a name because of the name, but they're nothing like what they used to be. And everything comes from this place of trauma and this place from starting from behind with Johnny Depp. So we look at Johnny. He's been with ladies such as Kate Moss, and I'm so terrible I forget his wife, who he had two children's with name, but he's with her for a very long time. And Johnny Depp's relationships outside of him and Winona Ryder, that was probably the most public of ones that he had. But he did not choose to be a public person with his relationships. He chose to be quiet, concealed, and from what we hear, he liked that because it allowed him to freely romanticize himself in the relationship. He could be as artistic and genuine and romantic as what I think drew a lot of the women in to him, right? So then we have Amber Heard, which I had never really heard of her. It's going to be hard not to do that a lot. Heard of her a lot before this trial. I didn't watch Aquaman, the first one, so I didn't know who she was. Now that she named off a few movies that she was in, when she was like Pineapple Express, this and that, I was like, oh, okay, that was you. And then she was also mentioning I had smaller roles in bigger movies, and I was like, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. But then we got to get to the age difference. She was in her mid-20s when they got together, and Johnny Depp was, late 40s, early 50s when they got together? And then, which was fine with her at the time, no problem with it. But then on the stand, she kept mentioning there was this age gap. Well, what we know about Amber Heard, which self-admittedly not much, is she's pretty open to the idea of different types of relationships. So now all of a sudden, when her MO has kind of been about openness and power and empowerment, now she's this powerless 25-year-old, helpless little 25-year-old who can't handle to be in the situation she got herself in. It just doesn't sound very empowering. And then we talk about how many of her friends around her seem to enable this toxic bullshit that goes on around. And that's massively important, right? Because almost every relationship that I've personally had fail, there was usually a friend or a group of friends that was in somebody's ear, giving options about grasses being greener and feeding into certain narratives that don't really quite exist for their own gain. Now, it seemed to be that everyone had a personal gain in keeping Johnny around because he was paying the note on everything. He was keeping them living this lavish lifestyle that they was all living. I would find it hard to believe there'd be many people that would come out against Johnny Depp in that way if he's housing you and he's feeding you. I haven't seen yet what witnesses Amber Heard is going to have on the stand. We haven't seen exactly whether or not this Raquel Pennington, or Rocky Pennington as she's commonly known in the case, or her boyfriend. We still haven't seen Whitney Heard. Let's get into the talk of the weekend being the damning audio that was released. I don't know how it was released, but there was more damning audio from the Australia incident when Johnny Depp lost the finger. I guess that was one of two Australia incidents. I didn't think the finger incident happened in Australia, but everyone's calling this the Australia audio, the long one. And this is Dr. Kipper and the nurse, and then Amber Heard can be heard in the video, and then Johnny Depp can be heard in the beginning. I'll take you through it without playing it because I don't know who owns the copyright for it, and I don't want to get in trouble for that kind of stuff. But you could find it. Just type in, at this point, you could just type in Amber Heard Johnny Depp audio leaked, and it'll be a pic. And the person did a good job. They got like a background, and then it puts the picture of who's talking and then what they're saying subtitled. So it helps because some of the audio is very muffled. The part that I saw, it starts with Johnny Depp yelling, and he's very upset. And then you can hear Dr. Kipper trying to tell him, like, Johnny, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? If you just tell me where it is, we might be able to put it back on. And Johnny is getting very upset even more, and then he stomps out of the room. Then you can hear Amber Heard come in, and she's like, I'm sorry, Johnny. I'm sorry, Johnny. I didn't mean to, Johnny. Okay. All the while, Dr. Kipper is screaming, where is it? Where the hell is it? Somebody find it. If we could find it, I could put it back on. Then the nurse comes in, and that's all he's instructing the nurse to do. Find it, and then towards the end, he's telling her, give Amber Heard some anxiety meds to shut her the hell up. She's making this worse right now. And then you hear in the middle, right, the time that I kind of jumped around through, it's Dr. Kipper and the nurse talking personally about this is her fault. She's done this. This is, oh my God, I can't believe it's gotten this far. How the hell has it gotten this far? Where he's lost a goddamn finger. And he's saying, we need to make sure that they stay away from each other. However this ends, she needs to go somewhere else. We got to get them away from each other. This is crazy at this point. So it's backing up everything that Johnny has said to this point, right? It's Amber Heard admitting on audio that she's the one that cut his finger off. It's admitting that Johnny Depp's team agreed to try to keep it quiet, that all that they want to do is find a way to find the finger and separate these two from one another. In Amber Heard's testimony, if you guys haven't seen it, it's quite colorful. She goes on to say how Johnny Depp himself, after maliciously beating her, stripping her naked, committing sexual acts with a broken bottle, throwing glass all around, and what was that movie? The Bodyguard movie? Is that the name of it? Bodyguard? And they're just like he's just running her across the bar, just smashing her through glass. That's the narrative she gave. While Johnny's saying, actually, what happened was, I had a time where I wasn't drinking. I decided that morning, after all her bitching and moaning about my activities, that I was going to go down to my bar and drink because fuck her. So I went down there and I started drinking. She comes down, continuing said bullshit, and starts huck-chucking shit at me. I tried to just move away, and I, in spite, take another shot to kind of piss her off. So she grabs the bottle, throws it at me. It hits behind the wall and explodes or shatters. Explodes is a dramatic word. It shatters all over the ground. Then, that not satisfying her because it didn't do anything, and I think he said he grabbed a second bottle and poured another shot. Then she grabbed that one and chucked it, and in chucking it, I don't know really how he said it happened. I don't know if it was a glass shrapnel piece that came back and got his finger or what, but I'm guessing a piece of a bottle came across and fink, and cut that bitch off, because that's what it looks like when you look at it. Okay, and then who was it? It was the bodyguards said that they came in and was trying to figure out what the hell was going on between everybody, and then Dr. Kipper was called, and Dr. Kipper kind of came in and take control, and then that's where this new audio that's been leaked comes out. Isaac Baroch talked about how every time they were all together, it seemed like a lovely experience. And then he talked about a few times where he had heard arguments between Johnny and Amber. If I had to guess, and I haven't had time to sit down and properly put it together an accurate timeline of events, if I had to guess, in the beginning of their relationship, Amber Heard was benefiting from the fame of being the new woman on Johnny Depp's arm. Okay. That may have served her in a few movie roles. I don't know what benefit she got from that. Obviously, she gained lavish lifestyles and high dollar material items, and, she was not any longer this hodunk country girl that she claimed she started out to be, and breaking horses and all that. She did, however, claim that Johnny Depp buying her a horse was so very inconvenient to her because, what am I going to do with this fucking horse? Even though she said, I talked to her dad, I got it set up. The thing was set up with a stable and everything. She just had this horse at her ability to use when she wanted to. Okay. Let's go back to personal experience for a second. I've always liked to consider myself a romantic. I enjoy romance. I have since I was a kid. My favorite show, my first that I can think of, right? The first show that I loved, deep in my heart, that I connected to, my first show, Boy Meets World. And what's the key basis of that show? Corey and Topanga. And it's this young love, right? And I think, in a sense, I connected to that story in an unhealthy way because I thought that was normal. I thought everyone found that. And then as we came up through life, you started hearing about, high school sweethearts, they get married, they do this. And you start to feel this pressure. You feel this pressure to find your person. You feel the pressure to find the one you're supposed to be with because, at least in the Midwest where I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, which, I grew up in the city parts of Ohio, it was kind of, that white picket fence life is kind of sold to you. So you try to find your high school sweetheart. You try to do the best you can in high school football and wrestling and baseball, and you do what you're supposed to do. And people like me, I had a kid when I was 17. So my trajectory was immediately thrown off in the way of being an uber successful business person. But now I was going down the road of a hard class blue collar working man. And all these things come with identities and labels and how you see yourself and how other people see you and what's possible for you, right? And then life goes on and you finally find people that you do actually connect with. So I'd say for most people, depending on what, keep your content coming. Thank you so much, the timestamps guy. I appreciate that a lot, man. Then you go through life and you usually find your first person, right? You may date a few, I don't know. Some of y'all might have grown up different, but from the 3rd grade, 2nd grade, you had a boyfriend, you had a girlfriend who you hung out next to and shit. But it's not until 7th grade, 8th grade maybe, you're 12, 13, where you find a person that for the first time your little feelings turn on. And you're like, oh, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people, but I haven't quite seen one like you. And then somehow you link, right? Now, everyone's story is different. Maybe you don't link with your first person. But for me, I had a person that I linked with. And we had family connections. We had, we went to church together. We had a connection. So then, in that, you start to believe what you've heard. Going back to the Korean Topanga. Oh, shit. The Korean Topanga lifestyle is possible, and I'm now living it. I watch it every week. It's my favorite show. So they get up, they go to school. They usually fight during school, and by the time they come home, someone is rushing to the door to save the day and save the relationship. They end, and it's fucking beautiful, right? But guess what doesn't happen in real life? You really do go to school. You really do fight about dumb shit because you're kids and things don't make sense. You're not having these life-changing, foundation-shaking fights like they're having in Boy Meets World, where parents are cheating on each other and shit like that. Some of y'all maybe, but most of us are having like, I heard you were standing next to fucking Jennifer in lunch, and I don't like that very much, therefore we're broken up now. And then you have to deal with like getting notes in your locker for the next week about how you're an asshole and stuff like that. That's how it really goes. And there is no one coming to the door to save the relationship and fight for it and all this dramatic stuff that happens on TV. So then you just end up losing that first person. And then you end up with all these hopes and dreams and ways that you thought the world was going to go. And it just simply didn't. Right? It just didn't. So I don't know who Amber Heard was before she came up. I don't know who Johnny Depp really was before he came up. So we have to judge them by who we know them to be. Now, I know less about Amber Heard and her past relationships. I know what I've heard in these tapes. And what I've heard, and a lot of people are not going to like this, because it will be a little in defense of Amber Heard. I still stand in strong objection with everything this woman does and has done. And continues to do on the stand. We're on a break right now, so she's not on the stand, but you guys get it. I will say that Amber Heard has severe abandonment issues. And in abandonment issues, I can relate. It can manifest the worst part of yourself at terrible times, right? I grew up where no one ever really stayed around, right? So my dad was gone from the time I can remember. I didn't grow up ever with a married mother and father. So my mom and pops split when I was 2. So my dad wasn't around a lot at all until I was like 9 or 10. He was working. He traveled a lot. And my mom worked a lot because she was a single mom and she had to. Now, my mom didn't date. It wasn't her thing. So she kept herself working and really engulfed in, like, our family life. So on the weekends, we would spend a lot of time with my grandparents and stuff like that. If my mom had to get stuff done, we'd hang out with my grandparents. During the week, I spent most of my time raised by my best friend's family. And, again, while they were the best people, and I love them still to this day, even though we don't really keep in touch much anymore, occasional hey there on Instagram or whatever, but I just learned at a very early age, people don't stick around. That's just not really what they do. So when you find that first person that you fall in young love with, you then, I guess, hope comes back for the first time. All the people that once gave up on you and abandoned you, you connect over those things, right? You could talk about it. Oh, my pops was like this. Oh, my mom's is like that. Oh, bet. And you connect. And that's what makes the bond what it is. But then, kids being kids, they'll act selfishly and they kiss other people and they do stuff. And then you separate. But at such a young age, and this is why it's important, I think, that young kids stay out of relationships so young, because you don't know how to handle that. You don't have When will the trial resume? Greetings from South Africa. They got about 7 days left. Next Monday. I appreciate it. Love to South Africa. You don't know how to process that information, right? You've gone through your whole life. So just my scenario. My pops wasn't around. Mom's wasn't around a lot. The family I really grew up with wasn't my family, and I knew that, right? But as close as we were, I knew that that wasn't my family. So, and then you have friends that come and go. You know, they get busy on the weekends, and they don't know how that hurts your feelings, because I spent a lot of time alone as a kid, like I do now, you know, where like right now I'm live streaming on YouTube, and you guys can talk to me, and we can kick it. I'm a 90s kid, yo. I grew up in 92, so when I was coming up, it was like 2003, 2004. We had dial-up, and yeah, we were hooked on MySpace and Zanga and shit like that, but it was different. When you were with somebody, you did everything you could to be at a movie, be at a mall, be at a skating rink, something, be at a park, fucking anything, to where you could just get your little young hands on each other and be around one another and talk about shit without talking about shit. And I think that's one thing that people lose in adulthood. For me, I found that when I started skating again, when I was 29, there's a beautiful art to being able to sit in the moment. Why is the court took a break till the next week? The judge has a conference that she's going to. She stated that in the beginning of the trial that she was going to have to do this. Sorry, I'll break. Love to a killer. I myself was emotionally abused in a relationship with my ex-fiance. I kept quiet, but this trial makes me sick that there are women that continue to do this. Yeah, and like I said, I have personal relationships where I experience that as well, and we'll get to some of that, and I'll try to speed it up if I can. But there's, when you're looking at life through our foundation, and that's what I'm getting to, right? My foundation was one of abandonment, and that's why I was talking about Amber Heard. I really do believe has severe abandonment issues because, again, my first person, along with my family, they left. They just up and found, to me, a young kid with no way to process anything. They always had better shit to do with better people to do it with. What does that do? That makes you very emotional to people leaving. It makes you do things like when you do have a romantic relationship or a friendship, it's a constant, what are you doing? Where are you at? What time are you coming over? It's a lot of this controlling. It can seem very controlling. And when you hear Johnny Depp trying to leave a situation, you can hear the desperation. No, please. No, Johnny, no. And she's reliving, not consciously, but subconsciously, inside her body, she's getting all the times that every person ever walked out a door when she wished they wouldn't. Can you, listening to this stream, connect to that feeling where you had someone hang up a phone knowing they would never call back? You watched someone's taillights as they drove away that you knew you would never talk to again. Out of their own choice, they didn't die. Out of their own choice, they're choosing, I will act like you don't exist on this planet anymore. That can do something to a person that will change you forever. It can change the way you see life. It can change the way you look at other people. So, for me, I come from that foundation of fear of abandonment. Then, out of a damaged relationship of being abandoned, my life was going poorly with drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. Like I said, I had a child with a girl that I was with in high school, and a break from my first long-term relationship with who I was saying my first person was. We had a break. She had a kid with someone else, and that kind of stirred up a tizzy in me. I did the same in high school, and her relationship with her child's father went terrible. My relationship with my child's mother went terrible to the point where she claimed he wasn't mine and took off. And so, again, I have more abandonment. But now I have it in the realm of my Corey and Topanga is never going to be a reality. I've seen that. I've been in relationships, and they don't look like that. And I've now had kids, and it doesn't look the way that it did on, Meet the Cleavers, and it doesn't look like Alan and, Corey's mom did. This hurts a lot. So then I'm an 18-year-old kid living on my own, been kicked to the curb by just about everybody. Got people that love me for sure, but they're always busy. They don't have time. Remember, this is a different time. This is back in early 2000s. So nobody has time to sit around and listen to a teenager's feelings about nothing. Nor is anyone talking about the coping skills like we do now to even give a kid, like we didn't have YouTube as teenagers. I wasn't able to go on YouTube and go growing up without a father, and then Jordan Peterson and his whole catalog shows up, or Joe Rogan and his entire catalog shows up, and you can almost be fathered by these men and their life experiences and the hours of content that's put out there now, and you go, oh, that's actually changing the world because you're fathering kids who had no fathers. Okay, bet. And then when you have somebody like me who comes from abandonment and then life falls apart, drugs and alcohol, I join the military trying to save anything that I can. Just my life, really, at that point. And in basic training, I make the fatal mistake that most young GIs make is I got married right out of basic training. I met a woman in basic, and we got married. Didn't know each other. We would literally, I was in basic. I went October of 2010, and my AIT was longer than most because my first AIT, I was a field artillery meteorologist and field surveyor. So I really had 2 AITs. I had to go learn how to be a meteorologist, and I had to go learn how to be a field surveyor. I don't know how to do any of that shit now because I didn't do any of it in the military. We'll get to that. So I go and do that, and I'm gone. I come home. She ends up getting out of the military in basic, so she never goes to AIT. I get out almost a year later. So somewhere around October to January of 2011, I'm now home, right? Couple months, 6 months later, me and this woman get married. She has a young daughter, 2 years old, 3 years old at the time. And I'm not dealing with anything. I've now left my entire life back in the city where I live. I never traveled much as a kid. And I moved 2 hours south to Cincinnati. And I built this pop-up life kind of overnight. I moved in with this woman, and we just started to try to build a life on no foundation at all. Just that we were both soldiers in the same basic training camp. Y'all could assume how that shit went. Poorly. Well, in that, your boy still had quite the drinking problem. So, in that, my drinking brought out a lot of abandonment issues in my first wife. And in that, she could become quite physical. And she would be known to slap and punch me in the chest and all this shit when we were in arguments, especially when that argument was leading to, I don't want to be with you anymore. That's when things get violent, because that's when words can't be manipulated anymore. When a narcissist, or when someone who has learned how to manipulate people, and those two things are very different. But when you have a narcissist with a severe fear of abandonment, if they can have such a thing, they have this grand idea of themselves that they are great and that they have this great value that they are giving to you. Usually it is monetary. Usually they are showering you with, like, I pay your bills, I pay your car, I'm going to cut your phone off, that type of shit, right? Because they like to prey on people that will... Reading, your audio is problematic. Only the one side is on. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Let's see if I can change it like this real fast. How's that? Any better? That should be better for you guys. You guys let me know if that just changed it up for you. So I was in this really toxic space where all I could do was hold on to, again, a hope and a dream of that one day. Now I've thought that everyone has left because I'm the problem. My mom, my dad, my friends, everybody, they left. I've gained this victim type mentality where I don't even know who I am because I've been told that who I was as a teenager was wrong. I was more artistic. I like to drum. I like to act. I like to skate. I like to be outside, play hockey with my boys. But I was never the kid that wanted to play football and commit to playing football all the time. Right? I didn't want that. So all I wanted was to be my Corey and Topanga. I wanted to go live that out. And at any extent I could, I wanted to learn the ways of what is it to be a man, because it was constantly in question for me. What is a man? The closest man to me was my grandfather, and he was to what I knew of him when I was young was my grandfather worked overnights at a automotive factory in downtown Columbus, or close to downtown Columbus. He worked overnights, and he would drink after he would work, and he would come home, and you could often hear him yelling a lot and throwing shit around and stuff like that sometimes. But when he was awake, there was a couple rules, right? Don't get in front of the TV, and don't talk a lot when you're around him and he's watching something, because he's going to get irritated. So, and then my pops wasn't around a lot because he was out chasing his own version of what a life dream is. He didn't have a Corey and Topanga idea. He had a Bill Gates idea more. My dad wanted to thrive in business to the point, and again, you know, in hindsight, he says it's so he could build a life for a family, but maybe he just didn't have the opportunity to have the hindsight at the time that you only get one life, and especially when you have kids, they only get one life. And you have to make those two lives always parallel to one another, because if you don't, you leave them on your own. As much as you may not like it, as much as you may try to resent that, it does leave people on their own. When you are out chasing endeavors, you are leaving the people you love on their own. Now, you can be there for them in other ways. You can call, which he wasn't great at, and you could, you know, make certain days special. I think a lot of the times my father felt that he had to buy our affection. So every time we would be with him, when he could, he would take us to big extravagant things like Dave and Buster's and stuff, which to us was a big deal. We didn't do shit like that. We couldn't afford it. So it was almost like you got this holiday vacation weekend when you went with Dad, because he always had more money, kind of thing. And I never realized how messed up that was until I had my own kids, and I realized that a lot of times society does make dads out to just, especially back in the time, it was more of a thing that a dad was just a paycheck. Nobody gave a fuck if dad stayed home with the kids and cooked meals and kept the house clean. That was a bum when I was growing up. Yo, that was a fucking joke of a man when I was growing up. And in everyone's eyes, we're not going to sit here and play that just like that I have this humble Midwest upbringing. Nobody played that shit. You were a bum. So now, in 2022, where a 25 to 27-year-old man can make millions live streaming on YouTube or playing a game on Twitch, people don't judge as much when a man has the ability and the wherewithal inside of himself to start what he believes to be his own family and go, oh, I'm not going to go clock in for 9 hours a day. I'm going to stream for 3, and then I'm going to hang out with my kid. And what comes of that comes of that. So let's get back. I end up in the toxic relationship, the marriage, my first marriage, and everything in that falls apart. Of the 5 years we were married, we were separated about 3.5. Okay? So one of the big moments of violence, and I'll take my personal responsibility where it's due in this story, I had separated from my now ex-wife. She was my wife at the time. I had separated, said, I'm done with this. I want to be done. I got my own apartment on the other side of town, and I had made a plan that I was going to be out. She said, I will help get this apartment if you'll just talk to me, if you'll give me a chance that we can talk. I was like, whatever. Fine, whatever, but I'm telling you, this is my spot. I'm moving out. Push comes to shove. I end up casually seeing the woman who rented out the apartment to me in the leasing office. There was a bar across the street. I frequented the bar every night. She started frequenting the bar. Things happen. So, again, where I talk about I have experience with men talking about I'm separated from my wife, I understand that there's gray areas in that. You can make something very clear to someone and they cannot accept that. Now, again, was I wrong? Yeah. In hindsight, yeah. I was wrong for that. I shouldn't have done that. So what happens is me and, this person have our fun, and I am asleep. Now, the apartment I had at the time, I had an air mattress and I had a laptop. That was the best I had. And I would watch just reruns of How I Met Your Mother, because I had a How I Met Your Mother, the whole series was on my laptop. It was the only thing I had to watch. So I would just watch them on repeat, and I would get hammered drunk in this apartment. When I'd get tired of being by myself, I would walk over to the bar, have my fun. If any fun came back to the house, no problem, whatever. I had people come back from the bar all the time to drink or hang out and whatever. So there was always, I was always meeting people and hanging out with people. I'm a social person when I'm drinking more, which I don't drink anymore. But, and again, so the fun happens. I go to sleep. Said person leaves in the morning, and then I'm waking up to a blow to my face. I get punched square in the side of my face. Now remember, your boy's sleeping on an air mattress. So you can imagine the blah, and you're going to bounce a little bit. So I'm hungover as all hell, just got punched in the face, and I look up, and I see my ex-wife's, my now ex-wife is standing above me. And I'm like, what the fuck? And she's still half cocked back like this. She's like, you motherfucker. And she just starts wailing. And I'm like, oh, okay. What? And she goes, now I see she's got my phone in her hand. What happened? What, did you have fun last night? And I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on? And I don't know what's happening. It's not until I've gotten up and I'm like, what are you talking about? And she had the real estate lady, had sent a text like, had fun last night, hope to see you again tonight. My ex-wife had broken into my apartment. I don't know if she broke into through the balcony or what she had done. I don't know how she got in because I was asleep. But somehow she was standing in my apartment screaming at me for the actions of the night prior. This all leads to finally her going, you're right, I'm done. We're done. Right? About a day later, I get a call from my unit. I have now transferred. I'm not a field artillery meteorologist anymore. I'm now a MP in the Army Reserves. I get notice because I'm trying hard to deploy to get the fuck away from this situation. I got notice that I was supposed to go to Kyrgyzstan, and I would be taken out to the field in Fort McCoy, Wisconsin for some training, and then I would not be coming back for the next year. So I go, too easy. This lady, my ex-wife's talking about going down, and she did. She went down to the real estate lady, tried to kick her ass in the office while she was at work, because she lived in the apartment complex that we were all, in. So the real estate lady did. So she was, just leaving my house and going to work. And my ex-wife went and, screamed at her and was like, I'm going to get this contract fucking ripped up. So I'm stressing about where the fuck I'm about to live. She's now throwing a whole bomb in this lady's life and screaming in front of her boss about what's happened, which her boss knew because she was at the bar with us. And, so I hear this, my master sergeant calls at the time, which if you guys don't know, it's kind of an equivalent to a first sergeant if you don't have one, calls and goes, hey, man, you still want to go? They got an assignment in Kyrgyzstan. I'm like, bet, let's do this. So about 2 days later, I'm packing bags, and I'm out in a dusty-ass field in Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, and I'm supposed to be there for the next month, and they don't tell me when, because this is my unit is going to train, and I'm going to do that training, and in the middle of that, I'm supposed to get on a bird and go. Okay, bet. So I get out there, and days are turning to nights, nights are turning to days, and days are turning to weeks, and I'm like, yo, where's this bird at? Your boy's got nowhere to go. And once this shit, runs out, I've left everything. I got orders to mobilize, half orders to mobilize. My master sergeant had written some shit up, yo, he's really going. So I didn't know, but without actual orders, my apartment's not trying to let me out of this. They don't give a fuck what happened. They now kick my ex-wife off for trespassing. They don't give a fuck. They fired the girl or sent her back to where she came from. She was like a temporary thing to, they had just built these apartments. So she was there to like get people moved in. She was going back to where she came from. So I'm like, what the fuck am I about to do? Right? They're telling me, oh, something happened and they don't need the spot filled anymore. You're going home. So now I have no apartment, and my ex-wife is living with her parents because we moved out of our apartment in the split, and I'm fucked. I got nothing. So all of a sudden, we end up living back together. She, the typical. Things are going to change. The biggest fight was that, step parenting is very hard. If you're a step parent or you've ever been a step parent, I would say it's easily the hardest position that a person could hold, it being a step parent, because you can love that child. And if you're a biological parent to a child, you know what that love is. You know what you would do for that child. Now, as a good human being, you should be willing to protect and take care of any child that is in your care. But the bond is different. And for anyone to disrespect the bond between a parent and a child is just loony to me. So you can care very deeply about a child without loving them like they're your own. And I'm honest in the fact that I never connected with that child to the point where I loved her like she was my own, but it was very tough. She was not brought up to be polite or manners and stuff like that. In a lot of occasions, she was allowed to be very rude to elders and stuff, which I didn't play. Especially, I was a young military guy at the time, and it was important that I was raising even a blended family on strong foundations and morals of being a good person. Remember, I'm still trying to build some sort of dream life in my head. I'm trying to put together a life that I can make people proud enough of me that on the weekends when my mom is taken off to go to this family party, maybe I could do that and she'd want to come to my place. Which, shout out my mom's, she is coming to my place at the end of this month. But it was one of those things where it's like I've worked very hard to build a life where people are proud of me and they want to be around, right? I couldn't do that in the relationship I was in then, because we had such strong disdain for each other. We were not the same person. We didn't have the same morals and the same ethics, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a bad thing if you live together, right? So where we should have broke it off multiple times, we extended things, push comes to shove, 2015 comes around. I deployed to Guantanamo Bay, and I knew long before, because I had gotten 2 DUIs in the span of my 5-year marriage, and I had to work very hard through the military to stay in and be allowed to go on this when I finally got a deployment in 2015 to Guantanamo Bay. I had to work very hard. I was a drunk, I was out of shape, and I had to get back in shape, and I had to do all this crazy shit. But I knew that once I left, if I got on the bird, just like again, I was gone, and I'm not coming back this time. Well, it just so happened, I got there, I checked all the blocks, I worked my ass off, and I got to Guantanamo Bay. And when I got there, I told my ex-wife, hey, I'm done. And when I come home, I'm not coming back. She was pregnant. So I ended up going home in December. I left in July of 2015. I went home in December of 2015, and our daughter was born. And she's my oldest daughter, and I love her very much, and she's awesome. She still lives with her mother, and they are still in the Midwest area. I still held to my guns that I was not going to raise my daughter, right? We knew she was pregnant before I left. I was not going to raise my daughter in such a toxic situation where I saw people yelling and screaming like I saw when I was young. Every time my parents were around each other, which was rarely, it was tense and it was awkward, and somebody would get shitty with somebody usually about something. And then on the car ride home, it was always extra shitty. And you had to listen to people get bashed on and stuff. And, you know this guy's a motherfucker, and this person's a bitch, and, this is why it steals all my money, and, like, all this toxic shit, right? And one moment I forgot to mention, which is a key moment that sticks in my head for life, right? Remember? Abandonment can do weird shit to people. Can do weird shit. And talking about Amber Heard and why she reacts the way she does in abandonment. I remember there was a moment when my father was working hard to try to get custody of my sister and I. I have an older sister. And him and her were never on good terms, so that was never going to happen. But he was trying to get me, really, to stay with him more. And I wanted to, but it was new. And my dad was different than us, right? And when I say us, I mean my mom, my sister, and myself. We grew up, my mom always made sure we had a nice house and we had good clothes to wear to school, but we didn't have like multiple outfits and multiple sets of shoes. We couldn't afford shit like that. So it was you had nice shit and you had to take care of what you had. But we didn't have anyone around to make sure we took care of our shit. So it oftentimes got destroyed. So you're this kid learning without learning how to take care of yourself. And then you go to my dad's every other weekend. And he lives in a very modern style, usually townhouse condo. Everything's sleek and nice. And my dad's a very nice looking guy. You know, he keeps his hair nice and he always keeps a clean shave. And every time you would see my dad, even when I was playing baseball, like coming out to the baseball, football fields, my dad's going to wear a 3-piece suit with a nice undershirt. My dad's going to look like he just came from a board meeting all the time when I was younger. So me being a young skater punk kid who half the time dressed like Travis Barker from Blink-182 and half the time like Eminem, because that was the influence I had in my life of male influence. That's what I looked up to. Is like, oh shit, I can relate to these guys. And it was everything my dad hated. Yeah? So then I would go to my dad's one random weekend. And I remember going like, hey, can I call my mom? I want to go home. I wanted my stuff, right? Like you guys see, I got my studio set up. This is a spare room / my oldest daughter's room when she's here with us. And this is like people call it my man cave or my study or whatever. This is my stuff. I wanted my shit. We can all relate to that, right? My dad flips the fuck out and starts screaming. And the only part I remember, he's driving in his BMW. My sister's in the passenger seat. He agrees to take us home. And he turns around and looks over his shoulder, and his lips will purse in a way when my dad's pissed that you'll never forget if you see it. And then he would spit when he would get super pissed. And he'd go, I fucking hate you. You're not my fucking son. And something about that moment, I remember sitting there in a Bam Margera shirt that he had just ripped me apart for wearing, skater baggy jeans that he was forced to let me wear back home because my mom had bought them. And I just remember sitting there like, fuck. I'm not even this guy's son. And I just remember thinking for the rest of my young teenage years, I got a family that loves me and they're always so busy and they've all got their problems and stuff, which, when you're a kid, everyone hides the family problems from you. No one's talking about your aunt's relationships but you hear the musterings and the mumblings, so you kind of, and it's always negative, yeah? And then you grow up and your dad tells you, your dad who you don't see much, because you get scared and you get homesick. You're not my fucking son. I fucking hate you. And you're like... And that's why when I heard Amber Heard screaming a few times at Johnny, I heard a lot of that type of stuff when I was young. Who the fuck do you think you are? What the fuck makes you think you're so... And you're like... When you're young, you don't really take that in. It's like, damn, this is hard to process. Why is this person that I love, man? I love you. Why are you screaming at me like that? I didn't mean to piss you off just by being me. I didn't mean to do everything wrong in your eyes. I'm sorry. Mr. Funk 73, thank you, man. I hope you're well. Thank you. Man, I didn't mean to do everything wrong. I didn't mean to just by existing fuck with your whole existence and being. And I didn't mean to let you down on the goals of what you thought your son was going to be. My dad always wanted me to be who my cousins were. My older cousin was an All-American quarterback his whole life. Sports stud his whole life. And, yeah, he always kind of wanted me to do that. And I wrestled in school, and I was always a good wrestler, and I could pitch because I was left-handed, and those things made my pops very proud. But I never did those things, right? When I got into middle school, I did it, and when I connected, those of you that just jumped in, I'm talking about young love, young relationships, and how they can turn people toxic. How you can gain these personality types that could be seen as narcissistic, or how you can develop mental health struggles through young relationships, and how we're hearing a lot of that on display with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. So again, you guys can feel free, ask me questions. You guys can put your own personal experiences in there, and we'll talk about them, show you all the love. This is a place that we will keep it respectful at all times. We're not going to sit here and trash each other. I'll boot you quicker than nothing. So I got to a place on deployment where I had kind of hit a don't give a fuck anymore. I knew that I had an uphill battle to face when I got home from deployment, because I was going to go through a divorce and a child custody, and I had no place to live. But I was confident in myself enough that I had, through separating from my then wife so many times, I had gotten new jobs and reestablished myself. I had gone back home to Columbus a few times, and I was all over the place. I lived out of a bag from the time I was 18 till I was 26, 27, for real. I lived out of bags because I was never in a place really longer than 6 months to a year. And if I was in jail a few times and for drinking and driving. And so my life had finally just started to stabilize in 2015 from all that. But remember, I hadn't dealt with anything that had happened in my upbringing. I was just kind of blindly forgiving people and keeping people in my life, some relatives at the time. Just keeping them around to try to convince myself that I was a good person for doing that I didn't close these doors off, and that if, one day they passed on, that I would have no ghosts or skeletons in my closet about it. I could be like, hey, I kept myself open. We'll get to that. Well, then I meet a woman while I was on deployment, and something was different about her. And she's now my wife, just spoiler alert. Something about her was different in the way that the person that I was telling y'all was my first, young love or whatever. And then I had, the woman who claimed that I had her child when I was 17 and then took off. And then my first wife. All of these three women had something in common, which was they were very, what's the word I want to use? I don't know. The commonality between them is they were all three very stern women. What they said was what was going to happen, right? And if you put up any objection to that, you were going to get the wrath of somebody. For my young person, it was usually her family members would swarm you and tell you how you're failing in some way. And then in the second one, she was, pregnant at 17, so I was wrong in every situation, especially her parents were insanely toxic in enabling her to think that she was the greatest thing, never wrong, and gets whatever she wants all the time. And then with my ex-wife, there was similarities of both, where she was raised with some decent money. Her family was well off, and she was the only daughter in a family full of boys and men. And her mother died young, so she had issues with that. So when I saw my now wife, when we were on deployment, I saw an innocence to her, where she had been hurt like I had been hurt. And I could tell that what I had always called kind of a wild side to someone, sometimes when you're young, you can find a wild side, or I think women call it dark and mysterious. For men, the wild side that you find in a we'll call them a spicy woman, it's just something that kind of turns your inner animal on. Yeah, that's what you find. And sometimes that's in their looks, rarely I find in a genuine connection, but it's something about when you look, for me, when you look at a woman in her eyes and you see who they really are. You can see who a woman really is if you take a second, and not in a creepy way, not like you're trying to be fucking Sinatra on the back of the piano, but you take a brief glimpse of time and look into her eyes, and you can see whether there's innocence there, whether there's pain there, whether there's deceit there, whether there's truthfulness there. And then you can get a feeling inside of your own self, whether that's a warm feeling, whether that's a sexual, primal feeling, or whether that's a completely off-putting and almost feel sick to your stomach feeling. All these things are happening simultaneously. Well, when you find a fancy and what we'll call more of a wild-spirited woman, which my wife now is wild-spirited in the best ways, right? Like, I've never been with women who take shit. I can't, because I'm a guy who, you're going to put up with a lot of shit being with me. I'm not, I've settled down in my old age, but like, I myself am stubborn, and I like to do shit the way I like to do it, and I like to have my setup the way I like to have it, and I'll always make sure that, I always try to pride myself again on being a romantic and making sure that they are taken care of and that they're happy first, and then I'll take the smallest corner and just make it mine. But you got to let me have that corner, right, to be mine, and go and sit there and be left by myself for a while. What you'll find when you are with wild women, typically they don't like that, right? They don't like you taking time, because then that means something they have done is wrong, or the way they currently look is wrong, or something. Because, again, there's a lot of damage there. If you take your judgments and all the hate and the anger, and you take all that type of stuff out of, your exes and your past relationships, and look at them for who you know that they are, put the way that their parents treated them back into the scenario. You can't take it out now that you're mad at them. It's easy to do that. Put it back in. And like, I look at those people and I go, oh, they were always like on the run. Every woman I was ever with, I felt like I was always holding them like this by a string, trying to keep them, because they were always trying to get away. Always, if you didn't like either show constant attention, or if you gave 1 second where you turned the other way, they were going to be off finding attention somewhere else. And I found later in life that that's trauma bonding. You're bonding through the fact that you both have these terrible abandonment issues. So you, in the beginning, you just love bomb each other, and you're constantly hanging all over each other, and, intimacy is higher than ever. And then things get stale, or, things happen, you displease each other, and resentment starts to build. And all of a sudden, now things aren't exciting anymore, and you're not getting the attention you thought you once had, or someone puts up some boundaries and finds some self-respect. And you go, I'm not going to put up with this shit anymore. You blowing my phone up every day while I'm at work, and I'm trying to do something for us, right? And this is a key in a relationship. When you have two people that are operating under the scale of, I'm doing this for us. I go to work every day, and I'm doing this for us, or whatever it is. When one person loses the sight of us and they start working for, well, that's not what I want anymore. Well, that's when a relationship should end, but it's not where it ends. We hold on because we keep our mouth closed and we go, wow, that thing that I want my life to look like, I don't deserve that. That's for other people, right? I've had all these experiences and I've been all these other people. This is just human nature, which is under the umbrella of nature in general. Yeah, totally agree. And when you look, man, and you take, and especially if you can take Amber Heard in the Johnny Depp trial situation, and you can humanize her. Jordan Peterson has a great bit on this where he talks about you can't fully know the scope of human potential until you could put yourself in the mind of like a Nazi camp guard, and sympathize with that person. Now, I could never sympathize with that because I grew up the way I did in the time I did, and I could never come up with a genuine belief or mindset in the mind that I have of why I would ever commit acts that way, right? But in the scope of our lives today, in 2022, not being as dramatic as that, you can put yourself in the scope of every person you've ever been in a relationship with. You've met their parents, and I'm talking about serious relationships. You've met their parents, you've met their family, you've been around their friends, you've seen their job, you've seen what their routines are like when they're good, when they're bad, when they're healthy, when they're not doing so well. So when things fall apart and you two no longer serve each other and we're not working for us anymore, but now we're working for every piece of vulnerability that was ever shared can become a weapon. And this is where you will realize who the toxic one in the relationship was the whole time. Because now all the vulnerabilities you ever shared will be used as a weapon against you. So we see this against Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Johnny Depp obviously drinks wine. He likes substances, and Amber Heard, I believe, genuinely enjoyed the wild side part of Johnny Depp. I think she likes the party life. I think she knew that her party would be funded anytime, anywhere she wanted it by being with him. And in a sense, he was enabling her substance use just as much as she was enabling his. And then, I don't know, I don't know whether it genuinely was the substances that drove them apart or it was the distance and her jealousy. I'm going to go towards that vote, that it was the distance and the jealousy on her behalf that tore them apart, because I could imagine after the initial love bombing and whatever, she thinks, well, he did that with me when he was with his wife and he was on a movie set. He's probably doing that now with someone else. So then whether they flip out and they have this big fight, then she rationalizes, well, I'm around Elon or I'm around James Franco. Let me just do the same thing he's doing. Well, if he's not really doing that and you're doing it in his building and he might just have a security footage video of you doing said thing or walking up to a room with a guy, he's going to start to imply that you're cheating on him. And then the big argument that she claims that they had was over her career and how she shouldn't dress so scandalously, and anytime she would have to bare chest or have a nude scene or have a sex scene or even make out, Johnny had all these issues with it. Well, if you've ever seen Dark Shadows or a lot of other shit Johnny Depp has done, Blow, for God's sakes, he's no stranger to what those acting scenes are, and he knows how to do them professionally. And he even said, I always advised her towards that, professionalism, where if you get known to be the actress, the young blonde actress who's willing to be naked in the scene, that's what you'll be in Hollywood. And he was like, and I think we can all agree to that. We've seen that. I think in a way, Kaylee Cuoco kind of fell into that umbrella on The Big Bang Theory, where she became this dumb, hot blonde who obviously was objectified. She dressed, pretty wild for a sitcom television family show. And she bared a lot. And I think a lot of times that hurt her career. Now, we can say she could still go and do a romance comedy where she's dressed modestly and be successful. But I don't think her acting was strong enough to do that. I think she got the attention she got because of her looks. It wasn't so much the acting. She was probably the weakest point on that show, acting-wise. So then Amber Heard is trying to make a name for herself in Hollywood, and respectfully, a lot of women feel like they have to use nudity and they have to bear a lot and be bold and be brave in that way, and I can understand that. I don't understand that. I can understand that there is a societal pressure there that when women appear on a screen, they are generally quite attractive and easy on the eyes, and then people tend to like movies more when those women are dressed less. I think we're growing out of that. I think in today's day and age, we don't want sexuality in any way or sex in any way force fed to us. We started feeling uncomfortable about it when like Pepsi ads were super sexual. And then that turned into like we started talking more about relationships and marriages and stuff like at work and stuff like that. And then we started hearing more about different types of relationships coming out. And none of it came to talking about how can we have healthy relationships regardless of what gender people are, but what belief systems can they hold and make that work together? Can they be different? Can you have a Catholic person and a Jewish person be in a relationship together? Well, yeah, I truly believe you can, but it would take a lot of openness and it would take a lot of willingness to compromise, and at some point it's going to take boundaries where people are going to have to draw their lines and stand in them. I don't think that's Johnny Depp and Amber Heard ever had that. I think they had a lot of fun, they had a lot of lust, they had a lot of chaos, they had a lot of stuff like that, but they never had a foundation. And I think where the foundation tried to be set by Johnny, where he goes, look, I'm getting old, I'm not going to do this much longer. I want to settle down. I want to make a life. So I don't want the woman that I'm making a life with naked on the screen all the time. Like, it's just not what I want. And who knows if that was a common thing in his relationship. Remember, Johnny Depp has the right to say that about his own relationship. As much as Amber Heard would have the right to say, look, I'm a strong, empowered woman, and I'm proud of my body, and I'm willing to put it on screen. And if you're not okay with that, then I'm not the one for you. But that's what people don't ever want to do. They don't ever want to take the accountability and go, I'm willing to make this choice that you don't like. And if you don't like it enough, you can leave. Now we're back into the abandonment issues again. We're back into Amber Heard can't tell Johnny Depp he can leave. Where's he going to go? She doesn't know. He can go anywhere. One of his multiple houses. So she panics, and it's all, is Amber Heard good enough? So let me go seek out Elon Musk. Let me go seek out James Franco. Let me get into this crazy altercation where Johnny Depp flies back in to be the knight in shining armor and save our relationship. I had that happen more times than y'all can count. Where at a slow point in your relationship, just when you start to think everything's normal and good, to them that's boring and shit. So they spark up some bullshit to get you like all riled up, and they'll be like, oh, my ex-boyfriend texted me or something. You're like, yo, why now? Why would you do this now? Or they bring up a role in Amber Heard's situation. Well, I'm supposed to do this nude scene, and he's like, yo, man, I thought we settled this. And now he's over the top because now everything he's settled into for the first time in his life, he's starting to think, I'm safe with this woman. I've been able to share myself and what I want in my life with this woman, and seemingly she's taken into account, but now she's completely disregarding that and just saying she's going to do whatever she wants. Fuck. Okay. So again, it doesn't sound like he ever got violent, or I don't know, it sounds like he ever got violent. It doesn't sound like he ever flipped out over movie roles. It sounds like his accusations of Billy Bob Thornton were a big one, and James Franco were a big one. They have footage of Elon, apparently, inside of a penthouse or something like that. I never caught that. I still have yet to see that footage. But, I saw Franco. So if I've seen Franco after hearing that video exists, and I've heard quite a bit that the Elon video exists, I'm going to go ahead and say that during there's 3 or 4 main altercations in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial that they focus on. One was on a plane. They focus on his detox attempt in Australia one time, and then I'm coming to believe now, when the finger got severed, that was a second trip to Australia. Or maybe that one was in LA. I can't keep that one straight as to where that happened. But we just heard, again, at the start of the show, I started telling you guys, over the weekend, we heard new audio recordings of Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, Dr. Kipper, and Nurse Lloyd, Debbie Lloyd, and it was the one completely discrediting Amber Heard's entire story. Everything that she said was completely false. And it was them talking, Dr. Kipper and Nurse Debbie Lloyd mainly, about she cut his goddamn finger off. She cut it off. How did it get this far? We have to get him and her separate from each other. And in the midst of that, Dr. Kipper's pleading, can someone find the damn finger? Find the finger, find the finger. And then Amber Heard is in the background screaming, I'm sorry, I never wanted it to get this way. He's going to leave. He's for sure going to leave. And finally, Dr. Kipper, trying to still find the finger and talk about, like, this has gotten completely toxic. What the hell are we going to do? Goes, give her 50 milligrams of whatever to shut her up. Because she was, like, hyperventilating, freaking out over what had happened. But if you've ever been in a toxic relationship that has gotten violent, typically their hysteria after their own violence gets quite extreme because they don't know. And that's why they don't want to separate from the person that they just abused. Are they going to go tell somebody what just happened? That's their biggest fear. So this hysteria comes in where they start to kind of lie and take ownership for it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, which you can hear her doing on the video. I didn't mean to do this. And then she'll go, I don't know what he's talking about. And it's a flip between the truth and the narrative that they're already trying to build in their head in case it starts to go south, because they're used to having people put out fires for them. So they know how to articulate things and what's possibly coming down the line and what to prepare for. And I'll tell you, that's a red flag. It's one thing you shouldn't always, when you're in a situation and everything goes wrong, and that one person knows exactly what to do, that's cool in that moment. But afterwards, you should probably talk to that person and go, you've been through a lot of shit, huh? Hello, how are you? I'm good. How are you? It's good to talk to you. Bar the goal. Good to talk to you. Yeah, so, throughout the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, and I'm going to wrap it up here because I've been going for about an hour and 16 minutes. Guys, do me a favor. If you're listening right now, hit the thumbs up button for me. We got 6 likes. See if you can get me to 10. If we can get me to 10 likes, I think that should show it to enough people to get me to 100 views on my first live stream. That would make me happy. That would be a goal set for me. That would mean that you guys like these. That would mean that I should do some more of these. Let me know. Get us up. There's 7. Somebody just knocked it out. I appreciate that. Let's go up to 10 and get 100 views on this thing before we end it. And I'll hang out with you guys for about another 10, 15 minutes. If you guys have any questions for me, send them. I'm kind of going through my backstory and mixing it in with why I'm so passionate about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. So, in the trial, when Johnny was testifying, he was talking a lot about her behaviors, and her personality, borderline personality disorder was something that Johnny claimed he was familiar with Amber Heard, and how she could be so sweet and loving and romantic one minute, and the next minute, he never really... I don't know whose team are you with. Oh, 100% justice for Johnny. 100%. He never said, except for his alcohol use, what would set her off. It was always his time apart or his wanting to leave an argument. Johnny never oftentimes seemed to be the instigator of the argument. He always seemed lost as to why this was happening. He was like, in the one instance, he had just found, in the one where he's slamming cabinets around in the video that we've all seen. Like that morning, he believes was the meeting that he just lost $650 million. Now, I don't think that's the case, because I think if that is the case, that means that Johnny Depp had the meeting where he found out he lost $650 million to his old business partners, had to rush from that meeting where he was then late to Amber Heard's birthday party, where he was quite off-putting and not very in the mood for a party. So he retreated up to another room or something. I don't know exactly what happened during the party. Apparently she didn't like it much. And that led to, I don't even know. It's so hard because her story doesn't make any sense at all. Her story goes back and forth between like contradicting evidence that we've seen very clearly of, like, when Johnny tells a story of being nodded off and him and her taking a picture of him, That is something that a manipulative, maniacal person who's using your vulnerabilities against you will do. That means she's planning 6 months to 5 years ahead and going, oh, that's Johnny Depp passed out in a chair. Click. She didn't take that as like an endearing, like you would your grandparent when they're passed out holding a baby in their arms and people are like, oh, that's so cute, and they take a baby. No, you're doing that to be maniacal. You're doing that. Are there any consequences law-wise for Amber? No, not in this case. No, Amber's not gonna. I'd say her career in Hollywood is already over, just from a PR stance. She's gotten as good as she gives. That's been a popular thing. Her career is non-existent, but no, as of now, she's not going to go to jail, even if everything has come out in Johnny's favor and he wins the case. No, she's not facing any jail time. This isn't a criminal. Yeah, her testimony is awful. And again, the part of her testimony that is so awful is just, let's be honest, it's Amber Heard. It's the way that she, if I'm looking straight ahead, right, and this is the jury, and Johnny's over here, which for her would be straight ahead, who's winning so far? Definitely Johnny, in my opinion. Amber Heard will be telling a story where she'll be looking more like this way towards Johnny Depp, not towards the jury. And she'll be like, and that's when he hit me. And she like stares right down the barrel at the jury to see like, did I get one? Reaction? Yes? No? And as someone, as an MP in the Army who was going to Guantanamo Bay and was trained to read some body language and stuff like that, I can tell you her constant needing of approval of her story is in conjunction with a liar. If you're telling the truth, you're not looking around to see how it's being received, unless you're a stand-up comedian, right? Because you're looking, how is the audience receiving this? Should I keep going on this narrative, or should I change the narrative? That's what a comedian is doing when they're scanning and reading a room. That's what Amber Heard's doing. She's going, then he slapped me 3 times, and now she made the fucking dumb decision of saying something so stupid like that he slapped her while she was facing away from him, that now TikTok has taken this shit, and now people are dressing up like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and like faking, doing this false scenario out. First off, let's not do that. Remember, this is a toxic situation that we're talking about. Yeah, can we still appreciate that? I know a lot of people have lost appreciation for the fact that this is a serious case and people are making a lot of jokes and a lot of stuff like that, but it's not funny. It's not funny. It's not meant to be funny. And yes, her being a bold-faced liar is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. But that does not mean that we should then sink ourselves down to be the type of people that would be friends with Amber Heard and sit around and mock someone who was a victim of domestic violence. Johnny Depp was seemingly a victim of domestic violence. So even acting out these stupid scenes where he's prancing around as Jack Sparrow and she turns around and he acts like he slaps her, we don't need to be pretending to slap each other on fucking TikTok when you're in a relationship, yeah? We just don't need to go there. Let's stop that. Let's just stop that right there. Let's not pretend to domestically assault each other. She's getting so emotional. Yeah, no, there's no tears. And again, I think she's showing a blatant flaw in her acting ability. Can I speak Arabic? I understand a little bit. I can't read it at all. I understand Farsi. I understand a little Arabic. I'm more familiar with Farsi if it's spoken. Yeah. But no, I tried to learn a little bit of Arabic. It's one of the hardest languages. It's a beautiful language. It's a beautiful language to listen to be spoken. It's kind of like Latin, true Latin, or I don't call French necessarily a beautiful language, but I think Arabic, Farsi is a little easier to understand in my opinion than Arabic is. But I'm going off. No, I'm not saying nothing because I don't know what it means. Yeah, they used to get me to try that shit too. No, I'm good. And we can talk about that as well, right? So like, when Amber Heard took the stand and she acted so emotional, what's something that you should always look for in a liar? In a liar, you will always find too much detail. When someone is lying to you, sorry if I'm getting a little too casual here, my back's hurting from trying to sit up like that. When a liar is lying to you, they will tell you a bunch of shit that you don't need to know. Hey man, how was your day? Good. Went to the gas station. Thank God I went to this gas station, because at this gas station they had the white powdered donuts. I don't know if you know this about me, but I love white powdered donuts. And every other gas station I've gone to that morning, they only had chocolate. And you're like, fuck, they really care about that. When in reality, they parked behind the gas station and they were getting their gluck on, fucking around when they wasn't supposed to be, doing something they wasn't supposed to be doing, or whatever. And now they're coming to you with it means hi. Okay, then I'm off. If you guys can show me a way to pronounce it, and someone else can verify that it means hello. I know salam alaikum. That was always the greeting that we used. Y'all got me talking about Arabic now. I don't speak Arabic. Like I said, I understand a little bit of Arabic and Farsi, a very little bit. And most of it's not nice words. All right. When you see her emotions, it's because she's trying to hide behind the details she's giving. She wants you to be in your own head living out this very graphic narrative that she's writing. And a lot of the times when she's talking about, he slapped me in the face and I didn't even know what happened. Well, you just said you knew what happened. He slapped you in the face, allegedly. And without knowing anything, again, saying she doesn't know anything when you just claimed you know what happened. So either you don't know what happened or you did. And I don't know how long I was there, but I just remember seeing how dirty the carpet was. Fucking what? How dirty the carpet was? You just got slapped. Your life, to you, something traumatic just happened. Your life might be in danger. You don't know, because this is totally off kilter for this person, as you claim. And they just slapped you, out of character for them. Which then later she would say, he did it all the time. I found the contradiction of, Johnny was beautiful and he was romantic, but when this monster came out, I don't think you would still refer to someone as beautiful and romantic if they just slapped you 3 times. I'm talking They did the triple slap on 3 separate occasions before you got married. And then newly, I believe on their honeymoon was the second trip to Australia, which is where the finger incident happened, and she claims he violated her with a bottle. So which one is it? Is he a great guy? And he's spending a ton of time out lavishing you. He's out lavishing you with these gifts and being kind and sweet to seemingly every person you and him have ever known, ever, including his exes and like his kids and your people and your friends and your sister. That's where you draw the line, though, is that his kindness, that's too much. What is it, Amber Heard? That's the question we all need asked, or we need answered. What is it about Johnny Depp that sent you to this place? Is it when she was getting caught up in cheating? I think that's our answer. If you're looking for a pivotal moment, I bet, and I think this is why they're keeping the timeline so blurry. Let's play a little fan fiction here, right? If Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial is a novel, which it is almost writing itself out like it is, let's play it out like a fan fiction, shall we? So, 2 actors swooned by passion on the set of the Rum Diaries. Upon meeting for a table read, feel a spark that is unmatched. I'm going to play a little Johnny Depp here. Their connection is instant. According to Amber Heard, it's resented. But past that, there's a moment in the trailer where they share a deep and romantic kiss. That, again, Amber Heard doesn't know what to do with. She's intimidated. It's Johnny Depp here. What should I do? right? That's according to her. Then they date. So apparently it wasn't that off-putting. In the early dating process, she's wined and dined very well. Nice dresses, nice a horse, many lavish gifts. All the while, dating, she claims she's not happy because they're constantly having to hide. He's going through the divorce process. We get into the cultural question of dating during separation. Okay. Two people start dating while they're each going through their own separate divorce processes. Once it's finalized, they become public. Once it's public, turmoil seems to ensue because now both figures, newly in love, go public and go back to work. So this, as Amber Heard called it, this isolation that they found themselves in is over. The real life begins. Johnny Depp said that as well. You can't really learn about someone when you're living in this bubble. And a lot of people, I think, related to that because they just lived in a bubble for the last 2 years under the pandemic. So, and you learned a lot about each other, right? You learned things that even if you guys were together years, you didn't see the side of them. You didn't have to deal with them 24/7. They were going to work for 8 hours a day. Not now. Now you have to see them when they would have otherwise hidden from you. So, I believe Johnny going and doing these movies and getting attention and her not being able to always be with him, to be on his arm and get the equal attention for being there, set her into a jealous frenzy. Now, again, I can sympathize with the fact of they met while they were with other people, so she could have some skepticism as to whether or not he would be willing to step outside of their relationship, and I could see why she would want to rush into getting married for that reason. Johnny Depp claims he wanted a prenup to protect himself. He's been married. He's been in the business a long time. I believe that. She claims she's the one that wanted the prenup, and he insisted on not because he didn't want to imply any type of plan for exit. As a romantic, I could understand actually a person like Johnny Depp being like, no, we're not talking prenups. We're either talking love or nothing. I don't think the smarter business side of Johnny Depp would have done that, but I don't think Johnny Depp is a business-savvy guy. He pays people to do that. Johnny Depp is the guy that goes, buy this whole floor of this penthouse, make sure we got 3 cars ready to roll at all times, stack that bitch with food, alcohol, and whatever the person in there is asking for, whether it be paints for Isaac Baroche, fucking a mat for Raquel Pennington to do whatever she needs to do, whatever these people need, make sure they have it. Don't ask me any questions. Get it done. That's the kind of guy that Johnny Depp seemingly is. And I would only assume that either when benefit fell far from Amber Heard or when Johnny Depp's presence, attention was elsewhere, I think that was a toxic time because I think Amber Heard possibly, and this is again where I'll try to give her some empathy, maybe she doesn't know how to just sit and relax and comfort and peace. Maybe her life has always been so chaotic that all she knows is being deceived and being abandoned. So I have this problem. I have a hard time just sitting and being because I always get this unnerving feeling that someone is betraying me. But it's because oftentimes they were. So again, you have to learn to take responsibility where it's due for yourself. And if you keep getting into relationships with people that are known to be flight risks or their job takes them far away a lot of times, or you know that you're not in an emotional space to be with someone who in any way has long distance in their self, this ain't the time for you. So you cannot then be upset when also he has feelings about what he wants his relationship to look like. They could say there's a double standard, I guess. Do you guys know of a time recently when Johnny Depp has done like a shirtless scene or a kissing scene or anything like that? I'm sure he did, like in Black Mass or something like that, but I'm trying to think of movies that he did while he was with Amber Heard where he would have otherwise been giving her shit for, a sex scene or, pulling her shirt off or whatever. I could see it to be where it's like, oh, okay, if people are looking at us as sex symbols on the red carpet and we're, there's videos and photos everywhere of them walking together, and she's not the most modestly dressed. And go, okay, if we're going to do that and we're going to advertise our package that way, then we keep it what it also is, which is mysterious and, the actual sexual, lusty parts stay behind closed doors. That's kind of been the appeal of Johnny Depp the whole time. Women love him because he's mysterious and you don't really know that much about him. And when he comes up, he gives you just a little bit that makes you want more, but he doesn't give you any more than that. And that makes it makes women go nuts. But the problem is, it makes toxic women go nuts. Healthy women are fine with it. If you want to go take a fucking afternoon to drink a glass of wine, make tea. Apparently Amber Heard claims that he loved tea. I don't know if she was claiming he was doing ayahuasca or shrooms or what she was trying to claim he was doing. Dude, do your tea, drink your shit, do what you need to do, and then, come back and be a happy person. Well, that's a mature relationship. Take time for yourself and then come back to us and be cool in us. And that's where a lot of relationships, I think, go from being healthy to being toxic. When you first start dating, you're fine with each other's boundaries. Well, when you're in high school and stuff, well, I got practice at this time. I'm having dinner with my family. And then, I got to do homework and we could talk on the phone for 20 minutes and then I got to go. And then when you become an adult and you get your own spot, well, now your parents can't tell you what to do. So you got no reason not to be answering your damn phone. Do you think Amber's lawyers are not well competent or have taken a case where they don't have any valid evidence? From what I've heard, Amber Heard's defense team, Rottenborn and Elaine, are both very capable. They're both very competent. I think they were given a doozy of a mission, which is to defend a guilty woman. I think they're kind of in the same stance as like OJ's lawyer was when the glove didn't fit. Only they got no glove. And they can't make something not fit. Because Johnny Depp's got all the gloves and they all fit Amber Heard. So it's one of those situations where I find it odd, very odd in our modern day time, that as the evidence is stacked up in a case, which the lawyers see all the evidence before it ever goes to trial, how is there not a sense of where someone would be found guilty due to inability of representation? Meaning, no lawyer will take this case because you are undefendable. I can't save you from this. I've seen what they have on you. This person or this court has chosen to take this case. You're going to lose this case, and I'm not putting my name on that. I think had Elaine and Rottenborn done something like that and just not taken the case initially and not seen it as the possible media cash cow grab that it could have been for them had they, let's not be fucked up here. If Amber Heard wins this case in the law world, not in the common day world, in the law world, those attorneys are fucking heroes because they pulled off something that literally beat OJ's glove not fitting. What are they doing or allowed to do during the break now? Talk to other possible witnesses, Kate Moss. So the defense, the lawyers, they can do whatever they want. The whole time because they're not testifying. It's only the witnesses. So Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are both witnesses in this trial, and Johnny Depp is subject to recall. So Johnny Depp is not supposed to talk about like his testimony, but he's not supposed to like look at stuff in the case. But he's also the plaintiff, and he's also a part of the counsel team. So he is allowed to in that regard. Where expert witnesses, anyone who was labeled as an expert witness, they are allowed to watch stuff because they're not talking from a personal perspective and they're not going to supposedly alter what they say. But we know that that's not necessarily true because Dr. Hughes, the forensic psychologist for, when is the next trial? Monday. It'll be back Monday morning. But they're changing the hours. So for those of you, like I'm on Central Standard Time, so the trial usually would start 9 o'clock for me, which was 10 o'clock for them, and now they're starting at 9 o'clock for them, which it'll be 8 o'clock for me. and they're going until 4, where usually they were going till 5. And so they're changing that just a little bit, but the judge is currently at a conference, and that's why we don't have trial right now. Also, this is just a pivotal moment for this to happen, right? I think that Amber Heard is almost done with her direct examination. It's been going so terribly. I can't imagine that Elaine and Rottenborn are game planning hard as to how they're going to try. Yeah, of course. Rottenborn and Elaine are spending these 10 days in a think tank with the best lawyers they can find, watching every video like this, like mine and everyone else's. They're watching all this shit. They need as much input as they can right now. They need one slip. They need one thread, because right now they got nothing. And they got 10 days, and I can tell you this as someone who has stood criminal trials. Like, I was almost put in jail for 7 to 10 years for my 3rd DUI. I know what going through a court proceeding and having some pressure on you feels like. And I can tell you, when the court case is going bad, every court case usually goes through these, like, weird things where sometimes you're like, oh, shit, this is actually, I didn't think it was going to go like that. All right, bet. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, by the way, they just found this. And you're like, fuck, I'm going to jail. So, like, in her case, she's been losing the whole time. And for her to think she has any, she fired her PR team, right? Like 5 days ago. That right there shows that she's watching everything. She sees what's going on. That means her defense team, that means she's getting bombarded. Or she is bombarding her legal team going, what are we going to do? What's our plan for Monday? Because she's back on the stand. They need to fix this direct examination in the way it's been going. It has been going so terribly for them that they literally have to spend this entire break, which, this was a godsend for them. Do you think Johnny's lawyers will bring Amber's ex-wife and Johnny's ex-wife for testimony? It depends on if they're in the witness list already. I can try to find the witness list for y'all while we're sitting here talking. I don't think that. I know that when they were talking about a tweet that was sent out about Amber Heard's alleged domestic violence, or I think she was, right? She was charged officially with that, right? For domestic violence against her ex-wife. I believe she was. And there was like a tweet that got sent out about that. They wanted to bring the tweet in, and to do that, it was otherwise kept out of court. I don't remember why that one was kept out of court. But it was kept out, I think, as hearsay because it was just a tweet, and some social media posts, if not meeting the right credentials, are just hearsay. And is Kate Moss coming to the stand? That would be crazy, wouldn't it? I'm gonna look it up here. Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, trial, witness. Oh, come on, look at me. I started to backpedal it, and it already had it auto-filled. Don't you hate that? Nope. That's talking about. Nope. I'm trying to find a credentialed one, and it seems like everything on here is just bullshit. Because this is all like who's already spoken and what they said, which I thought about doing a breakdown of that, but that's not going to do us any good. I don't know. That's the best answer I can give you right now. Is Kate Moss going to come on the stand? I don't know. I know there are, if you go to Legal Bites YouTube channel, she is keeping the witness list, I think, as a clickable link in her description videos. So go check that out. She is covering this from a purely legal side, where I am covering it more from a real-time mental health, modern-day person, as we see the world, relationships, and everything that encompasses that side. Which, for me, what I hope to offer you guys is a connection to what is real. It's easy to get caught up in the hype of anything. Especially when things catch a trending status, memes are made. And AH mentioned Kate Moss. Yeah, that was what the fist bump was about. She said, and I saw Kate Moss. They were talking about, I looked at the stairs and saw Kate Moss and knew something. And Ben Chu turns to the attorney and he goes, did she just say it? And he goes, fuck yeah. Open up. Yeah, I that's what I'm saying is with that thing with her having a charge already and them trying to keep that out, and she mentioned, like she did the Kate Moss thing, she mentioned the tweet, or she mentioned the ex-wife. They did a similar thing where it was like they fist bumped, like, hell yeah, now we can get him. But then they didn't get her on it. And I don't remember, I think that was when the god-awful cross-examination of Dr. Hughes happened. I think Dr. Hughes is the one that brought up her previous domestic violence with her wife, and he was like, wait, she talked about it. I can bring it up now. Bring it in. And I think they tried to admit it into evidence, and they were like, no, can't do it. And they lost. That was a very significant objection that they lost in that, not being able to bring that into evidence. If I could find a legitimate witness list, which I wish I could, everything on here is, there's got to be one. Amber Heard trial. Let me type in full witness list. Sorry for that. I hate having dead air on here. And what they said, I don't care about all the ones that have already... Oh, here we go. Got it. Plaintiff's list of witnesses. John C. Depp, Sean Bett, which was his housekeeper, butler guy, Gina Duders, Stephen Duders, Ben King, Malcolm Connolly, Travis McGivern, Starling Jenkins, Dr. David Kipper, Isaac Brunch, Kevin Murphy, Christian Carino, Christy Dombrowski, Tara Roberts, Edward L. White, Sam Sakar, Paul Bettany. Now, we did not see all these people. Keenan Wyatt, Jack Wingham, Leonard Damian, Robin Baum, Andy Milner, Samantha McMillan, Adam Waldman, Trinity Esparza, Kate James. Kate James. Why do I feel like that's Kate Moss? Doesn't she go... Isn't Kate Moss a stage name? Kate James. We'll look into that. By video link. Debbie Rassel, Shannon J. Curry, Richard S. Gilbert, Richard Marks, Michael Spindler, Doug Bania, Brian Neumeister, Kimberly Ann Collins, Dr. Richard Shaw, Rachel Frost. Any witnesses identified by defendant and counterclaim plaintiff Amber Heard, to whom plaintiff does not object. Any witnesses necessary for rebuttal or impeachment. So they've kind of got a whole deal here. Let me see if I can get Amber Heard's. You would think that the same site would have it. That was a Fairfax county courthouse. So yeah, that was kind of neat. Can someone tell me? Can someone jump on their Google machine for me and see if is Kate James the name for Kate Moss? All right, so that was plaintiff. Let me type in full defendant. This should pull it right up if we're lucky, right? For plaintiff again, boo to you. They have to have it. From what I hear, Amber Heard's is pretty long. And I don't think she's going to call Kate Moss. So I think, I guess now I could just look it up. Is Kate James, who is Kate James? I don't have Siri set up on my phone because I don't like my devices listening to me all the time. So I have to literally sit here and type everything in. Who is Kate James? Oh, Kate James is Amber Heard's old secretary. Accidentally, and Johnny and his lawyers went, yes. HM doesn't look like that. Yeah, no, Kate Moss, that's not her. That is Amber Heard's old, personal assistant, the one that just dogged on her. I don't know, can someone tell me, other than the fact that Johnny Depp and Kate Moss were together, why do they want to talk to her? Why do they care? Other than she's just a famous ex of Johnny Depp's. I would rather hear from Winona Ryder or his ex-wife, right? Why do we care about Kate Moss so much? It's the same reason as I don't really give a shit to hear about Elon. Elon's going to say bad shit about Amber because I posted a quote up by Elon the other day where he's got a famous quote that's don't tell everybody your secrets and your vulnerabilities. Some of them are listening to build up an arsenal against you. I'm pretty sure he learned that from dealing with Amber Heard. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. No, I mean, everything that she's done up until this point is criminal. I mean, it is criminal. And let's not get this fucked up. She's not facing criminal charges here. So there's no chance Amber Heard goes to jail for this case. It would take the spite of Johnny Depp, if he won this, to not spite, right? We would agree that he has been abused. So trying to file criminal charges for domestic abuse, I believe he's outside of the statutes of limitations at this point for the relationship and the claims. And I think he's understanding of that. And I think, especially in the state that he would try it in, which is, that's the thing. A lot of people have question as to why is this being tried in Virginia. What was it? It was like the RTO that she filed came from somebody, and or she filed something. I think it was the RTO was filed by somebody. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was the Washington Post article. Their headquarters is in Fairfax County, Virginia. And that's why he was able to arraign her in Fairfax County and make her a witness, or, a defendant in a case in Fairfax County, because she took action in a magazine whose headquarters is in Fairfax County. So, again, they had to jump through a significant amount of hurdles even to get this case heard. I hate even saying that word now. So, yes, he is not going to be able to go and then take all this evidence and put them in trial 2.0 and go, now I want this bitch to sit in jail. And also, I just don't think Johnny's that kind of guy. I think Johnny genuinely just wants to clear his name. I think Johnny wants people to know who the real Johnny Depp is. And is it a sweet, sweet victory for him? Guys, I need one more like to get us to 10 likes. Give me one more. Everybody in here, if you haven't liked this video, hit it for me real fast. Make my day, and then let me know you're number 10. Let me know. I would love to see who it is. Everything that we're seeing just shows Johnny Depp's a good dude who struggled and has struggled in his life. And sure, when he is overwhelmed emotionally, he doesn't always know how to express those emotions. I think we can all probably sort of agree or connect to that in some way. If you've ever been in a end of relationship type fight where everything that you hoped and dreamed for is suddenly, that's a part of the design I have on my new line. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, go do that, and I'll try to pull it up here if I can. I'm still new to this, so guys, give me just a hair of a break if I'm not great with all this controls yet. Let's see. I'll pull you in. So the new line that I just put out that I thought I'd show you guys. There you go. How are we looking? Is it good? There it is. Everything I ever wanted, and it shows hands with a thing of water. And that represents, like, and if you guys, I'll scroll down here in a minute and you can see the other design. And it came at such a weird time because that does kind of represent the feeling of when these pivotal relationships are falling apart, or you don't get that job, or that college opportunity that you thought was going to come in and you banked hard on doesn't come in, or somebody lets you down. Thank you guys so much for 12 likes. You're the fucking best. I love you so much. Thank you. You made my day. 100% you made my day. Thank you. When that happens, and it is, can you guys connect? It's that feeling of you're staring at the person you love. You're seeing the potential, and you visualized yourself in that dorm room, playing on that field, throwing that pitch, shooting that ball, acting on that stage, singing that song, whatever your fucking thing is, you've seen it. And then in a single moment in time that feels like it's lasting an eternity while being the snap of a finger, if nothing else, you lose hope for a moment. You lose hope that everything I ever wanted is falling through my hands like a pool of water, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I can tell you, I made that line because I've been in that position so many times where I'm sitting going, this is the actual end of my life. Whether it's I'm being arrested again for a DUI, I've been left again by someone I love, I've gone months, if not years, without talking to relatives or people that I love dearly. And where sometimes I do better with it, and I'm grateful for what I have in the moment, and then other times I look and go, my life wasn't supposed to go this way. Had everyone acted accordingly to their best versions of themselves, and they weren't being selfish or anything like that, we would all still be living this thing called life together. And because we're not, it's easy for me to build resentment, but instead I stand here in this moment of watching everything I've ever wanted fall through my hands. And I'm not mad about it, but in a sense, you don't really know. Are those tears falling through the hands? Is it just everything? Is it a representation of everything? And that's why I kind of create the designs that I do, is because I want you to have your own interpretation of it. I don't want you to look at something I create and go, oh, this is Cam's creation. I want you to go, I'm wearing my life like a tattoo on my body for as long as this shirt is going to last. I want to wear it as a representation of every moment that I survived that moment. The moment that I survived thinking that everything was about to fail. And even if it did, it didn't. When you lose that person you love, or that opportunity befalls you, or, you know, I've lost children, you know, I've had stillborn children who I had to face down hard questions like, you know, it was my son, you know, it was a son. And I'm a man who I took great comfort in the idea of having a son share my last name, especially because when I was 17, I was told I had a son who did share my last name, and then I was told he wasn't mine, and they changed his name. So in the midst of my toxic marriage, we ended up having a son who was stillborn, and I was given the opportunity to hold him, hold the body after it had passed. And I remember that same feeling where you go, there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do, right, that's going to change this. I can't change this. It's going to fall through my hands, and I'm going to wake up tomorrow a different person with having had this experience. And this is never not going to be once in my hands. But I can also never get this back. So how much am I willing to let my life sink? How much am I willing to, because God knows I tried, guys. I hit the bars every night, and I was the coolest one that was known for doing the most shots and drinking 30 beers and then taking it back to the house to drink 12 more. I was that guy to be the one that had to forget about everything I ever wanted falling right here. And what you'll find when you do things like that to yourself, no one can do that for you. You do that to you. I do that to me. When you invalidate that water, that the thing, you're invalidating yourself. Because all the time that you spent chasing that, all the time you spent improving yourself, all the people that you positively affected in the process, you're staring that in the face and going, that doesn't matter. Because the outcome didn't go the way I wanted it to, even though I ultimately had no control in it ever starting to begin with, so therefore I had no control in it ever finishing the way I wanted it to. I was blessed with this thing, or a potential to be the father to his son, and then in the matter of a day, you go from everything I ever wanted, imagining holding your baby boy in your hands, to now you're being asked, do you want to hold his body before we take him? And then you as a father have to stand there and go, what do I do for me in this situation now? Because I'm going to be the one who has to wake up tomorrow and live like this didn't happen. Because, again, during the time, this was 2013, 2014, You can't go online and tell your story as a guy about how you feel about losing a kid. And you damn sure can't go on and talk about how you had to make a choice for you so you could sleep the next day to not hold that child's body. And I remember in that time, the nurses and stuff told me, like, you know, a lot of people regret it if they don't. I feel like I wouldn't be doing you a service if I didn't tell you that. And I remember thinking, like, the only way I was ever able to be a father for this child, I let him down. I couldn't save him. So, to be able to hold something I never had seems like I would be doing a disrespect to whatever that soul was in the process of doing. And I didn't want to taint that with, at the time, something I thought was evil, which was me. I was being told at every turn that I was a piece of shit and that I was an alcoholic and that I just needed to learn how to get my shit together and grow up. And I can tell you that that doesn't help people grow up or get their shit together. Because people forget, like we will with Amber Heard currently, it's easy to shit on people when they don't look their most favorable, when life is really doing a number on them. It's easy to shit on people. I had tabloids take my mugshot and create stories out of some of my arrests that were fabricated and whatever. So I know what it feels like to have an entire town look at you when you walk into a Kroger and be like, that's that fucking guy. And I also know what it feels like to be like, y'all don't know me. Y'all don't know what I'm dealing with. If you knew me, if you sat and listened to me and why I was at that bar that night and how everything got so fuzzy, you wouldn't want to see me thrown away like the piece of shit that I look like on the front cover of that page. Like, and then once the case is settled and you know, the truth comes out of all the situations and you go back and you tell these papers like, hey, fuck yes, that's my face up there. Can you take that down? Here's the facts. They go, nah, man, people don't care anymore. People don't care. They don't want to see it. What the fuck do you mean they don't care? You made them care by putting my face out there. Now that the truth is here, now you're saying you don't care when you're the one that cared enough to just go on the public records, grab people's faces, and put them up. Which is the same thing that, you know, Amber Heard thought she could do to Johnny Depp. You could just say whatever the fuck you want in someone's low moments, and because you know that they have low moments, you think they're not going to defend themselves. That makes you a fucking bully. And that's why I started my show. Because during the worst times of my life, days after making this terrible decision, I'm sitting in a fucking jail cell, and then I get out, and my face is all over a town. I'm sending you love, man. I'm sending you love if you've been in a situation like that, yo, because again, that's why I made this show. That's why I have this channel, and I'm blessed to be able to do this. Because there's not people just talking life for real. Every podcast that I start listening to, every show, every host that I buy into who seems like they have a shred of authenticity, the second they find any type of success, it turns into look at me, look at this, look at that, look at this. Where I can show y'all, if you know, let me see if I can here. So you can look at this design here. It's called April Showers Bring May Flowers. And the inspiration behind this design, if I can get it. Hopefully you guys can see it a little bit. Let's see. The inspiration behind this design comes from all those moments, again, of more of... Let me see. I'm going to have to set my mic up real quick. Let me just get that out of here. There. Now you guys can see it. So you can see there's a couple, and there's supposed to be a debate between the person viewing it as to whether or not this couple are they getting together? Are they coming together in a beautiful reunion? You can see she's crying. I don't know how much people pay attention to the detail that was put into it, that there's roses scattered all over the ground. So this is this man's attempt to find the perfect rose, and his hands are all cut up from the thorns of the roses, and him ciphering through, trying and making his own decisions as to which one he thinks would be the perfect one for her. And again, I create these because in a relationship, there's always that duality of what one person is trying to do and how the other person receives it, because we don't know. We truly don't know. He could have spent hours out there thinking he was dedicating his love to this woman, right? And we see there's a car in the background. If you go and actually look at it and blow it up, which again, guys, I'm new to this streaming stuff, so I'm gonna get better. Just give me time. But you see, there's a car in the background. So, like, did she call somebody and be like, this guy's been out here forever and he won't go away? He's out here cutting up my roses. Or is this like she was dropped off at her own house or his house and he's out there? You can make it whatever story you relate to, but you can tell your story with the shirt. Like where this one, the one I'm wearing now, this is just silly. It's just a punk rock guy. He's cut in half. He's got business professional attire on one side. He's got punk rock on the other, and it says violently caffeinated. There's no deep, meaningful point to that. It's just fun. Everything doesn't need to be so deep and so whatever. But we see through artistic creations, things can be awful nuanced, and there's subtle details that really do matter. And per each person's perspective, a story can look very different, you know? So I think that's important for us all to remember. So as easy as it can be, I think, to maybe dial into Amber Heard's a piece of shit and whatever, which I'm not disagreeing with any of these statements. I'm not here to say like, oh, I'm going to be the one that stands up and defends Amber Heard, because I'm not of such bold morality. But I will say, like I've said in past episodes, the attorneys for Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, the individuals themselves, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and their families will all go on to build lives and live lives after this, where we will go and do the same. I want everyone who's watching it to leave healthier than they entered, right? There's a lot of baggage that we all carry around every day. Like, I haven't talked about that story about, losing my son. I've never really talked about that a lot, especially never publicly. But you realize you're not doing anyone any favors by not telling your story. Oftentimes, we just don't know how to tell them. When things happen and, you feel worthless, and you deal with the Amber Heards of the world, and they know how to really put you down, and they know how to really beat you up. It gets tough to really learn that your story and all the things that make up that substance that's slipping through your hands at times, those are all valid things. And just because they matter to you, the music that you love, the activities you love, the things that make you, just because they may be motivated by someone else or something else or whatever, doesn't mean they can't still be you. Whatever sets your soul on fire is you. And if people don't match up with that, and you don't have the boundaries to protect who you are, I'm just here to tell you that there will be people out there that look for you, and they will hunt you, and they will use you in any way that they can. And it's oftentimes because you're a loving and caring person, and you have a dream in your head, and you have something that is attractive to them. You have a drive, you have an ambition that they don't have. We see that with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. we heard a lot about her ambition and how it was toxic, and then we heard about how hard he works and how many movies he makes a year. And we learn how life is not as easy as falling in love and living happily ever after, is it? Is it? Because to fall in love and live happily ever after means you have to discredit everything that ever happened before. It means you have to discredit any potential issues that may arise in the future. And you're discrediting life itself. You're acting like everything is sunshines and rainbows at all times, when most of us live in an existence that proves every single day that's just not the case. Right? Don't you have to work really hard to find what brings you peace? Unless you're a dedicated monk sitting in the mountains of wherever, and you're just constantly searching this Zen zone, we're all at every moment finding what's going to bring me happiness right now. Is it an iced coffee? Shouts out. Cheers to all my violently caffeinated people. Is it an iced coffee? Is it the admiration of social media followers and watchers? Is it a smoke, a drink, a food? Like yesterday, my stomach feels like it's going to fucking explode all day today, because yesterday we had these tacos, right? And I'm new to Mexican food. My whole life I grew up, been like, what's the fucking point? It's all the same shit, refried beans or black beans with chicken, steak, or carne asada now I call it. And then you got whatever veggies, cheese, and it's either going to be wrapped up in a tortilla, in a small tortilla called a taco, or it's going to be on a plate by itself. But it's essentially all the same shit. That's how I saw it as a young child. Now I grow up, and I'm trying other spots out, and I'm eating tacos. Legit. Like, these are good-ass tacos. So we go out yesterday and eating these tacos, and like instantly my stomach is going, and I'm like, oh fuck. I'm like, fuck. Anyway, I'm just, I don't know why I started telling you that story, but sometimes finding peace, I think, is what I was talking about. Sometimes you got to learn peace is a good meal. Peace is turning on that movie that you love from childhood, and who gives a fuck if someone's told you watch that too many times, and why do you watch that? That's a kid movie. Who gives a fuck, yo? Look at everything you've been through in life. Look at all the moments that you've had to sit with that water just flowing through your hands, and then you had to go to sleep, like just tucking that all down and going, yeah, that's life. And that's why the backside of the design, they say it is what it is. Because that's become my life motto so many times when I legit didn't know. Let me see. When I legitimately didn't know what else I was going to do. Sometimes that's all you can say. It is what it is. I don't know why they make that so small that I can't scroll down. This command window where I'm trying to look here, it's like hella small, and I don't know why. But yeah, if you guys can relate to that in any way, it is what it is, and just coming to a constant place of surrender with that, a lot of the time, it'll save your life. Because I've spent so much time fighting what is and trying to force what isn't, that you force yourself into these toxic relationships where you deal with things that you would not otherwise deal with. You find that things in life tend to work out so much worse when you're around the wrong people. And the longer you choose to stay in bad situations, the worse things get. And I think that's a universal law that we don't talk about much. If you sit around and constantly disrespect yourself by putting up with things that the world would not want you putting up with, someone who genuinely loved and cares about you would not want you to put up with the ways that you're being treated in your relationship. And it's only out of pure self-loathing and believing that you're not good enough, that you do put up with it at all. It's the stuff like that. Those are the messages that I hope to be able to change by doing the things that I do. And going, like, you're not a bad person because you had a kid with someone that ended up not being who you thought they were. You're not a bad person because you got married and the person changed or you changed and it just simply didn't work out. And there was no bad feelings, but you wanted more for your life than what was presented to you. You're not a bad person for that. You're not a bad person because you were being treated poorly and you chose to leave. You're not a bad person because you chose to stay single and not have kids and chase a career. And you're not a bad person because you had kids early in life. You're not a bad person because you got hooked on drugs. You're not a bad person because you drank too much. You're not a bad person because you've been arrested. My question is, what did you do following the low points? That's why my show is called the Road to Redemption Podcast, because I've done nothing but live on this constant road of redemption, where I'm seemingly having to redeem myself from situations I didn't know I had done wrong in. I've always found myself kind of looking back and going, fuck. Had I known what I know now, I wouldn't have done that. But the thing is, I didn't know that. And I had to sit so many times in, whether it be a jail cell, an AA meeting, a fucking whatever, and go, had only someone told me. Like, you think some things are so basic, and I use this analogy a lot, but like, when you grow up with not a lot of guidance, things like eating ramen noodles 3 meals a day, like, you just don't think, like, oh, I shouldn't do that. That's not healthy. That's not a way people live for longevity and health. And I was 25 when I realized that that's not normal for people to just eat crunched up ramen noodles as like a food source. And you can't just consider that like a meal. But I had a child, and I looked, and I was like, holy fuck, I care about this kid, and I've seen what's in this stuff, and I'm not going to give them that. And then it was like, but you put it in your own body, and I was like, oh, fuck. No one had ever cared enough. No one had ever taught me, like, dude, you're something worthy of protecting. You're something to invest in. You are a person with value that needs to be valued and be treated with some sense of value. It was just, hey, man, we're all out here trying to survive, and, you know, the good get good shit, and we get shit on. So that's just the way life goes. That's kind of the upbringing mentality that I remember coming up with. And in that, it leads you to believe that you are quite worthless at times. And it leads you to, again, a lot of moments where you just are left saying, it is what it is. Maybe tomorrow will be different. Maybe the world will open its, clouds up for me one day, and this peace that everyone else seems to have, maybe I'll have it too one day. And then you look at all the people that have left and all the ones you admire and all the things you envy. And if you take the time to look close enough, you will realize that no one has it all. No one has the answer to peace, because peace is in a simple, like I said, cup of coffee. It's in having a solid meal, even if you know it's going to hurt your stomach later. It's like, it's a fine balance of living in the moment and enjoying what is, and being able to play with the idea of what's possible while not expecting it or even really hoping for it. It's tough. That's very tough, because once you've gotten a taste of happiness, once you've gotten a taste of what fulfillment and peace and satisfaction feels like, and for a lot of us, I don't think it takes extremes. It doesn't take a dinner at the Five Seasons and a big fancy get out and go type event for us to feel special. I think for most of us to truly feel special, it's for someone to know about you so deeply that they can take you to your favorite spot that most people would never even remember you mentioning, because you don't talk about it that much, because most people don't like it, but you love it, but you don't talk about it that much. And you go there, and you're allowed to talk about all the reasons why you're in love with it, and you listen to your favorite songs on the way and talk about what memories they bring up, and how because of those memories you've built this dream that you want to either see happen or some things you never want to see again. And through that you start actually living life in a very real way, and you start to hope again. Through all the moments that you've lost, you learn to find some kind of weird beauty in them, where you go, I wouldn't be exactly where I am now had I not been there, and I wouldn't be able to talk about the things that I am able to talk about now, or help the person that just went through what I had gone through so many years ago. And you have to look and go, if there is a beauty in this world that exists, that is divine, it would only be the beauty that comes from pain that you can only suffer alone. There's some pain that's joined, it's collective. You lose a loved one, like I lost my grandfather almost 2 years ago. And that's a collective pain. Your whole family feels that shock. And everyone feels it a little different, but collectively you share that. There are some pains in the world that those are losses to you and your soul alone. And there's no one that can talk you out of it. There's nothing that anyone's going to be able to say. There's no purchase you're going to buy as, what's the word I'm looking for? As impulsive. There's not coffee strong enough. There's not a whiskey strong enough. There's not a cannabis strain that can get you high enough, that can ever drown out the genuine moments that happened to you, that formed you, that shaped you. And every addict comes to this hard realization. They come to this realization one day that it's usually when the funds are low and the bags are empty and nobody's talking to them anymore, that they have this come to Jesus moment and they go, I need to get my shit together. Because not only does everyone I know, they've given up on me, but now the only thing I ever loved, being drugs or alcohol, is now given up on me too. And it's not willing to give me anything back. Guess what? This fucking drink or this heroin or this coke or this whatever, you're no different than the fucking people in my life. Because when I need you, if I don't have something to offer you, you're nowhere to be fucking found. And then you start to turn on your drug of choice. And guess what? Your drug has nothing to defend back with because it can't get you high. That's the only defense it has. Your beer can take the edge off of the anger you feel towards it for getting you hungover. It's the only real remedy for your pain. And it knows that. But like Amber Heard not giving Johnny Depp his meds that would have helped him detox easier and more whatnot, the alcohol sits in the fridge 2 blocks down the road in your local gas station telling you over and over again, hey, I got your resolve, my guy. You feel like shit. Can you scrounge up $1.19? Can you? Because if you can get a twisted tea that'll have you fucked 5 ways from Sunday. Just one. And then you got a guy sitting out there in his lowest moment holding a cup, and we drive past him. Get a job, motherfucker. Dirty son of a bitch, always out here. But what people don't see is this guy, in his mind, 6 months ago had a wife, family, kids, when really it's been 10 fucking years. But in his head, he's been working to this goal of, if I can just get enough money to get enough alcohol to stabilize me out, to get me here, then I can get sober. But all the while, you need your comfort buddy. You need that thing, whatever that thing is for you. Sometimes it's substances. Sometimes it's, these crazy-ass shows people watch on Netflix all the time. What is that? What are you chasing? Are you chasing to remedy a situation that can't be remedied? Sometimes I find that with nostalgia with me. Sometimes I'll listen to something and it'll spark a feeling in me that I'll go back later and try to revisit, and I'll try to turn the song on again to get the same feeling, and I'll go, oh, I'm chasing some darkness here. This is kind of that side of myself, that self-loathing, self-deprecating, that other people's voices. When I hear certain songs, I hear other people's voices singing them, and it's like, you gotta learn to respect that. You gotta learn to respect what you've gone through and the traumas and the hardships that we face in life, because for so long we just disregarded them. We just let them go as if you were a bad person or less than because life happened to you and because you felt some type of way about that. Why in the United States especially we ever got into this idea that your feelings make you weak, and we created these stigmas and this stuff around the idea. Let me see if I can fix this. No, I'm gonna leave it. We created this idea around the idea that if you're having a bout of a depressive episode, or you've been labeled as bipolar, and you're known to have these, we call them misregulations of the brain. I don't like to call them abnormalities, because I think we're finding that it's far more normal than we give it credit for now. But back in the day, you were just a bitch with a bad attitude if you were bipolar. You had PTSD, you were a war veteran. And there was no deviation from that. Well, now in today's day and age, we're looking at it. What is bipolar disorder? It's a dad who gets up and takes care of his kids one day, and the next day he's so overwhelmed with the emotions and the memories of his past that he throws a fucking torch into his entire life with no possible positive outcome. And that's where we look at people and we go, why would they do something like that? Who in their right mind would do something like that? It's like, but you're judging somebody who's not in their right mind against somebody who would be in their right mind. That's not a fair evaluation. You're taking someone who's got, a disease of the lungs and asking why they're not strong in a long distance run. Well, they're not set up for that right now. You got to figure out where did the problem start? What can we do? Oh, you got a lung disorder. You smoke a lot. Stop that. Okay, now we're making incremental steps to get better. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. I appreciate everyone who just took a second even and jumped on this live. I know it became more about myself. And if you came here for the Johnny Depp stuff, I do apologize for that. The answers or the questions that came in, I think I answered all of them. I don't think I got, behind. I think I'm good and I'm all caught up. And, I just want to say thank you, man. Everybody that has jumped on and has, found my channel because of the Johnny Depp stuff, you guys seem to be connecting more to it in the content because of my connection to it and how I've lived life. So I hope that, this stream didn't let you down. You didn't get on and be like, damn, what the hell is this guy talking about? If you're not familiar with me, this is a lot of what it is. It's just raw, me doing my thing. I've never gotten on and gone live on YouTube and done like an official stream where I can talk over myself and who I am and where I come from and all the stuff I got going on now. And I wanted to take an opportunity to do that since I've got a bunch of new people that are here to check it out. I don't necessarily know how these things work, so when I end it, I don't know if it's going to save it for you guys, and you guys will be able to watch it back later. I don't really know how that works, but if you do watch it and you did enjoy it, I hope you'll like it, so that way other people will find it. If you really want them to find it, send it directly to them. That's the easiest way to do it. If you want to support me and support the show, head on over right there to madmentaldesigns.com or the Road to Redemption podcast.com. And, that's all roads lead to Rome on that one. You'll find everything from the poetry I've been putting up to all past episodes, all the merch we've got, everything. is on either one of those 2 sites. Head right over there. Know how much I love you. Know how much I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And I will see you later on this week for another video. Love you.